Welcome everyone, join us today as we pay tribute to one of rock's most influential and enigmatic drummers, Ginger Baker. From his groundbreaking work with Cream to his exploration of world music and jazz, Ginger's career was as diverse as it was impactful. So let's dive in. Ginger Baker, born Peter Edward Baker on the 19th of August 1939 in Lewisham, South London. Ginger's parents, Ruby Streatfeild, a tobacconist worker, and Frederick Baker, a bricklayer and lance corporal in the Royal Corps of Signals, who was killed in the Dodecanese campaign in 1943 during World War II. Nicknamed Ginger for his distinctive red hair, attended Pope Street School, excelling in football, and later Shooters Hill Grammar School. He joined Squadron 56 of the Air Training Corps at Woolwich for a few years. Initially aimless, Ginger found a passion for competitive cycling, which was cut short after an accident with a London taxi. In school, Ginger discovered jazz and often tapped out rhythms on his desk, inspired by big band drummers like Jack Parnell, Ronnie Verrill, and Phil Seaman, whom he would later receive lessons from. Though his first instrument was the trumpet, at age 15, he attended a party where a band was playing. His classmates, remembering his desk drumming, urged him to try the drums. Despite his inexperience, he impressed the band members and realized he wanted to be a professional drummer. He bought his first drum set for £3 and began playing part-time while working as a sign writer and in an advertising agency. At 16, he landed his first professional gig with Hugh Rainey's All Stars, which later became the Storyville Jazz Band. This job earned him £12 a week, prompting him to quit his day job. Throughout the late 1950s and early 60s, Ginger played with several English traditional jazz bands, including those led by Terry Lightfoot, Acker Bilk, and Ken Oldham. However, his strong opinions and combative nature often led to frustration with his bandmates and the limitations of the music's style. Unfortunately, his time in London's jazz clubs also resulted in a heroin addiction that would plague him well into the 1980s. In 1962, Ginger replaced Charlie Watts in Alexis Korner's Blues Incorporated after Watts recommended him. Later, Ginger returned the favor by recommending Watts to Brian Jones for the Rolling Stones. While with Blues Incorporated, Ginger met bassist Jack Bruce and saxophonist, organist Graham Bond, who would both significantly impact his career. Despite a notoriously contentious relationship with Bruce, the trio left Blues Incorporated in 1963 to form the Graham Bond Organization. It was during this time that Ginger honed his ferocious drumming style, becoming a true jazz-rock fusion drummer. British guitarist Eric Clapton occasionally played with the Graham Bond Organization, impressing Ginger. In 1966, after watching Clapton with John Mayall's Bluesbreakers, Ginger proposed forming a new experimental band. Clapton agreed on the condition that Jack Bruce would join as bassist and vocalist. Ginger agreed, and the trio formed rock's first supergroup, Cream, in June 1966. Managed by Robert Stigwood, Cream featured Clapton on lead guitar, Bruce on bass and lead vocals, and Ginger on drums. After a few small club performances, they headlined the July 1966 Windsor Jazz and Blues Festival in England and quickly rose to fame. Cream's debut single, Wrapping Paper, in 1966 was a light, jazzy pop tune, unlike their usual style. However, their debut album, Fresh Cream, released in December of the same year, showcased their distinctive sound with powerful tracks like NSU, I'm So Glad, and Spoonful. The album climbed to number 6 on the UK chart. The band released 2 more albums during its existence. Disraeli Gears in 1967 showcased their exceptional instrumental and compositional skills, while the live half of Wheels of Fire, which topped the US charts, highlighted their potential for self-indulgence in concert. Cream disbanded in November 1968, partly due to the intense animosity between Ginger and Bruce. A 4th album, Goodbye, was released in February 1969. Despite being a short and uneven mix of live and studio tracks, it reached number 1 in the UK. Over their brief career, Cream's 4 albums collectively sold 15 million copies. After Cream disbanded, Ginger joined Blind Faith, a new group with Clapton, Steve Winwood, and bassist Rick Gresh. Despite the massive success of their self-titled 1969 album, which topped the charts in both the US and UK and sold 500,000 copies within a month, the band fell apart by October after completing a US tour. Disappointed by Clapton's decision to leave and form Derek and the Dominos, Ginger decided to start his own band. He enlisted Winwood and Gresh for a new jazz-rock fusion project, Ginger Baker's Air Force. The 11-member lineup featured drummers Phil Seaman and Remy Kabaka, Graham Bond on Hammond organ and saxophone, Denny Lane on guitar, and a trio of brass players. The music was an exuberant blend of blues, R&B, jazz, and African rhythms. Ginger, always bitter that Bruce and lyricist Pete Brown had claimed most of Cream's songwriting royalties, ensured that he played a significant role in the writing credits for Air Force and his future projects. Winwood and Gresh contributed to the group's debut album, a live double LP recorded at the Royal Albert Hall in January 1970, before departing to rejoin band Traffic. Without Winwood or Clapton, however, Ginger struggled to attract audiences. During a US tour, the now 9-member Air Force faced poor ticket sales and little radio interest. Their second album, Ginger Baker's Air Force 2, released in December 1970, failed to capture the same spontaneous energy as their first effort. Subsequently, both the album and the band faded into obscurity. Following Air Force, Ginger formed the short-lived Ginger Baker Drum Choir, which released a single on Atco Records in 1971. Featuring a three-piece drum ensemble and call-and-response vocals, the record included the tracks Atunde, We Are Here, and Atunde Part 2. In November 1971, Ginger embarked on a journey to set up a recording studio in Lagos, Nigeria, traveling overland across the Sahara. Documentary filmmaker Tony Palmer documented his odyssey in the film Ginger Baker in Africa. Despite setbacks, Batakota Arc Studios opened in January 1973, serving both local and Western musicians through the 70s. Paul McCartney and Wings recorded at the studio, with Baker contributing percussion using a tin can filled with gravel on Picasso's Last Words. During recording sessions in 1971, Ginger sat in for Fela Kuti, released as Live, with Fela. Ginger also collaborated with Fela on Stratovarius in 1972, credited under the pseudonym Bobby Gass for Bobby Tench. Stratovarius was later included in the compilation, Do What You Like in 1998. In 1974, Ginger formed Baker Gurvitz's Army with brothers Paul and Adrian Gurvitz, releasing 3 albums and touring extensively through England and Europe. The band disbanded in 1976, shortly after their manager Bill Feehilly's death in a plane crash. After the Lagos studio venture failed, Ginger spent much of the early 1980s on an olive farm in Tuscany, Italy, playing little music. In 1980, he joined band Hawkwind, contributing to the album Levitation before leaving in 1981. Live recordings and demos from his time with Hawkwind were later included in their albums released in the late 1980s. In 1985, Ginger collaborated with producer Bill Laswell on Horses and Trees and played as a session musician on Public Image Limited's album. Moving to Los Angeles in the late 1980s, Ginger aimed to become an actor. He auditioned for the role of the homeless man in Weird Al Yankovic's 1989 film UHF, but was not cast. He later appeared as Ginger in the 1990 TV series Nasty Boys. In 1992, Ginger joined forces with the hard rock outfit Masters of Reality, contributing to their album Sunrise on the Suffer Bus alongside bassist Googe and singer-guitarist Chris Goss. The following year saw the formation of BBM, Bruce Baker Moore, a powerhouse trio featuring Ginger, Jack Bruce, and Gary Moore. They released Around the Next Dream in 1994, showcasing their collective talents in blues-infused rock. During his time in Parker, Colorado from 1993 to 1999, Ginger immersed himself in polo at Salisbury Equestrian Park, where he also hosted weekend jam sessions and concerts. U.S. immigration issues related to his past drug use would later lead him to sell his property and relocate to South Africa in 1999. In 1994, Ginger initiated the Ginger Baker Trio with bassist Charlie Hayden and guitarist Bill Frisell, marking another chapter in his diverse musical journey. On May 3, 2005, Ginger reunited with Eric Clapton and Jack Bruce for a series of Cream concerts at the Royal Albert Hall and Madison Square Garden. The London performances were recorded and released as Royal Albert Hall, London, May 2, 3, 5, 6, 2005. In a 2009 Rolling Stone article, Bruce remarked on his relationship with Ginger, describing it as a knife-edge thing, noting they were happily coexisting in different continents. In 2008, Ginger accused a bank clerk, Lindiva Noko, of defrauding him of nearly $60,000. He claimed Noko, whom he had hired as a personal assistant, used her position to access his banking information and make unauthorized withdrawals, while she contended the money was a gift, asserting they had an intimate relationship. Baker denied this, citing a specific scar she was unaware of. Noko was found guilty of fraud and sentenced to 3 years of community service in October 2010, a punishment Baker deemed a travesty. Baker's autobiography, Hellraiser, was published in 2009. In 2012, the documentary film, Beware of Mr. Baker, directed by Jay Bulger, premiered at South by Southwest in Austin, Texas, and won the Grand Jury Award for Best Documentary Feature. It had its UK premiere on BBC One on July 7, 2015. In 2013 and 2014, he toured with the Ginger Baker Jazz Confusion, a quartet including saxophonist Alfred Pee Wee Ellis, bassist Alec Dankworth, and percussionist Abbas Dodoo. In 2014, Ginger signed with Motema Music to release the album, Why. Personally, Ginger was married 4 times and had 3 children. With his first wife, Liz Finch, he had a daughter, Jeanette Karen, born in 1960. His second daughter, Leda, was born in 1968, and his son, Kofi Streetfield Baker, was born in 1969, named after Ghanaian drummer Kofi Ganaba. Kofi followed in his father's footsteps, becoming a drummer and playing with musicians like Uli John Roth and Glenn Hughes. Ginger's second marriage was to Sarah Baker from 1983 to 1984. He then married Karen Lukes in 1990, and they divorced in 1999. His fourth and final marriage was to Kudzai Makokoto from 2010 to his death in 2019. In 2009, Ginger Baker published his autobiography, Hellraiser, the autobiography of the world's greatest drummer, co-written with his daughter Nettie Baker. Nettie, an author in her own right, also wrote Tales of a Rockstar's Daughter in 2018, and More Tales of a Rockstar's Daughter in 2019, detailing her experiences growing up with her famous father. Ginger struggled with heroin addiction throughout his life, beginning in the 1960s as a jazz drummer in London. He estimated quitting around 29 times, finally succeeding in 1981 after moving to a small Italian village and taking up olive farming. In February 2013, Ginger revealed he had COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease from years of heavy smoking, and chronic back pain from degenerative osteoarthritis. He underwent successful open-heart surgery in February 2016 for serious heart issues. Sadly, on the 6th of October 2019, Ginger passed away at age 80 in a Canterbury hospital from complications related to COPD. A private funeral service was held on the 23rd of October 2019 in Canterbury, Kent, attended by close family and friends. And there you have it. Thank you for joining us in celebrating the extraordinary life and career of Ginger Baker. His contributions to music and his unique approach to drumming continue to inspire musicians and fans alike. Although he is no longer with us, Ginger's legacy lives on through his timeless music and the countless artists he influenced. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos just like this. Take care and bye for now.